Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the launch of Texas Counts. Before we begin our remarks, I want to invite anyone that is a member of Texas Counts or a census champion, if you would like to join us at the front and be in the background for our press conference today, would love to have you join us up front. So
please come forward. Yeah. Come on up. You guys are beautiful. We need our speakers forward as well. I can do that. Good idea.
I got a crew up here now. So good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Katie Martin Lightfoot, and I am the coordinator for Texas Counts. Thank you for joining us today. As a proud Texan, I am inspired by the diversity of our state. And more so, I'm inspired by the thoughtful complete count efforts that are led by our cities and counties across the state of Texas. In partnership with these local efforts, I am thrilled to be part of Texas Counts. Texas Counts is a statewide collaborative effort engaging cross-sector leaders and organizations to amplify the 2020 census efforts in Texas. Today, I am joined by census champions who represent diverse sectors from across our state to celebrate the launch of Texas Counts. We thank you for your partnership in this work as we get out the count in Texas. Today, I will be serving as your MC. We have 9 fabulous speakers joining us today to talk about the importance of the census. I am pleased to first welcome Ann Beeson, the Chief Executive Officer from the Center for Public Policy Priorities and the Chair of the Texas Counts campaign, in addition with John Patrick, the Executive Director of Educate Texas at the Communities Foundations of Texas and representative of the Texas Counts Pooled Fund.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katie, and I'm so excited to have our partners up here with me. I am so excited to be here today for the launch of Texas Counts. We are serving as a partner, a connector, and a hub for Get Out the Count efforts by communities all over the state so that every single Texan is counted in the 2020 census. I love Texas, and I believe that every Texan, that's all 28 million of us, deserves to be counted so that our state receives the congressional representation, the funding, and the information we need to thrive for the next 10 years. The 2020 census is essential for our democracy. It determines how many representatives we'll have in Congress. It's used by the federal government to allocate funds to the states for a range of essential federal programs that support Texas communities. And it's used by businesses to make smart decisions about growth and spending. Yet counting every Texan isn't easy. 25% of Texans, over 6 million people, live in hard-to-count communities. And an undercount of our population by even 1% could result in a $300 million loss every year in federal funding. Unfortunately, the risk could be even greater than that 1%. Unlike other states, the state of Texas did not form a state-sponsored complete count committee, and they haven't put any money towards the count. And while we have wonderful Get Out the Count efforts underway in major metropolitan areas and other areas of the state, way too many communities across our state lack the resources and support that they need to ensure a complete count. Recognizing that gap and the huge impact that an undercount could have on the future of our state, the Center for Public Policy Priorities and the Communities Foundation of Texas came together to form Texas Counts. Our effort has 2 prongs, the Texas Counts campaign and the Texas Counts Pooled Fund. And I'm going to say a little about the former and then welcome my friend John Fitzpatrick to talk about the Pooled Fund. The Texas Counts campaign is spearheaded by a statewide steering committee representing Texas business, health, education, government, faith-based, nonprofit, and community-based organizations. We enlisted their help to educate and engage their sectors. And you'll hear this morning how they're doing that and working hard to build momentum around the census through engagement and education efforts across the state. Our Texas Counts campaign partners are as beautifully diverse as the state of Texas, and I wish that I had time to recognize all of them. In addition to the organizations that our many speakers here this morning represent, Our partners in Texas Counts include the United Ways of Texas, the Hispanic Baptist Convention, the Texas Hospital Association, the Texas Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs, the Texas Association of Business, the Rio Grande Valley Equal Voices Network, Feeding Texas, the League of Women Voters, the Texas Association of Regional Councils, the Texas Association of Goodwills, Independent Colleges and Universities of Texas, our friends at JOLT, the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Corporation, and the Texas AFL-CIO. So as you can see, it's a very broad and diverse group of folks and organizations that believe in a complete count for Texas. Texas Counts will serve in 3 critical roles: as a partner, a connector, and a hub. As a partner to the Census Bureau and all the terrific work that the Bureau is doing around the state, as a partner to local complete count committees, and to state and local leaders who want to help ensure that every Texan is counted. We'll also serve as a connector to connect people to resources and best practices around the census, and to connect people working around the state with each other so that they can share strategies and learn together. And finally, we're going to serve as a hub, a central place to find and aggregate resources and to build a learning community. We have built an online hub that we are launching today at texascounts.org, which has a wide range of resources for communities, from toolkits to fact sheets to research. It also features a robust discussion forum where members, wherever you are in Texas, can crowdsource best practices for reaching and educating Texans about the upcoming 2020 census. We encourage you to explore those resources and join the online community, and we welcome your partnership. I want to give a huge shout out before I close my remarks and a thank you to the Census Bureau, to our local CCCs, including our wonderful Travis County CCC, many of who's with us today, and all the great work you're doing in my home community, to our many partners, many of whom you see up here and all the other ones I've named and more, and to everyone around the state who is already a census champion. I also want to give a special thank you to our friends at the Communities Foundation of Texas for being our close partner and helping to raise essential resources for communities that need more to get out the count. And finally, I want to thank my fantastic C-CCC Census team, which includes the wonderful Katie Martin Lightfoot, who's our MC today, as well as Cassie Davis, Luis Figueroa, and Cindy G on our team. Thank you so much for everything you guys have done to get us where we are today. Together, with your help, we're going to make sure that every single Texan is counted. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Fitzpatrick. Very proud to serve as Executive Director of Educate Texas, part of the Communities Foundation of Texas. Want to start by thanking my friend Ann Beeson. You know, who really, without Ann, I'm not sure any of us would be here today. So, so we try to do 2 things at Communities Foundation and Educate Texas, and this project I think is a perfect embodiment. You know, we try to build thriving communities, and we try to be a trusted change agent. You know, and we've got an opportunity, all of us, you know, to make a real difference with this census. It's imperative, you know, the implications for an undercount are dramatic, you know, both in terms of missing out on a share of federal resources, missing out on congressional representation, you know, and the moment is now, you know, for us to come together, you know, whether it's business, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's government, whether it's churches and religious leaders. So I'm really happy to be here today. So there's lots of different roles, you know, that you need to play in an effort like this. Sort of there's brains, there's arms and legs, but there's also a bank. And we're basically the bank. That's what community foundations do. So really proud that we've set up a network of dozens of funders that recognize the power and the importance of the census. Very happy we've raised over $1.3 million. Give me and we're basically setting up an RFP process so local communities can apply for grants. And so far, you know, it's been open about a week. We're getting RFPs from Midland to Nacogdoches and from Hidalgo to Harris County. So one of the type of things that people can apply for. It's really cool to see what sort of the local creativity in local communities. It can be replicating a complete census counts like it's being done here in Travis County. It can be setting up a text messaging campaign for college students. It can be setting up mobile outreach centers in the colonias. You know, so taking the registration process out to people who need it most. So if you're interested in applying for one of these grants, you can go to TexasCounts.org, or Educate Texas. Again, really appreciate all the great leaders that are coming out today. Really appreciate all the leaders that are part of it. Special thanks to Ann Beeson. And I think back to the moderator to continue the event.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. I'm so sorry. Make sure I get that order right. I'd like to acknowledge our state demographer, Dr. Lloyd Potter, and welcome Dr. Lila Valencia, Senior Demographer at the Texas Demographic Center, to speak on the changing demographics of our state.
It's good to be with you today. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about the change. More concerned about counting and ensuring that we know how our demographics are changing. So certainly, as you just heard, I'm the Texas State Demographer. I've been in that role since 2010. I'm also the director of the Texas Demographic Center. And in that role, we serve as the state's liaison to the U.S. Census Bureau. We produce population estimates and projections for the state, and we rely heavily on the census and accurate census for us to be able to do that. We also disseminate demographic data to a range of stakeholders, and because of the role that we play in the state, we have a real emphasis on the need to have accurate and a complete count in the census. And our work is very dependent on that, and the work of our constituents, which are state agencies, local businesses, universities, schools, school districts, all use these data for a whole range of things, and so having an accurate and complete count is extremely important. I wanted to also just mention we recently met with our new Secretary of State, Ruth Hughes. She's been very interested and engaged in trying to get a complete count. She started doing PSAs with the Census Bureau, so we're likely to be seeing those. And she's also going to be pulling together a roundtable of state agencies to see what state agencies can do to advance a complete count. So I'm really thankful for her commitment. I also want to acknowledge Corey Rose, who's back here, who's on our staff. She wasn't able to be here today because she's in Japan on state business, but certainly their office is very interested and engaged in a complete count. So anyway, I'm just very pleased to see this activity happening. It's really kind of grassroots, and private sector is really engaged. When you look at what's happening in counties and in cities, it's pretty amazing. I should also acknowledge Judge Clay Jenkins is my co-chair for the complete for Texas Counts campaign for the government subcommittee, and he's been very engaged in working with county judges and mayors, as have his staff and a range of other people. So anyway, I just want to emphasize how pleased we are with this, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Lila Valencia, who's going to probably repeat some of what I just said.
Thank you, Lila.
Good morning. My name is Lila Valencia. I'm a senior demographer. Oh, right, I forgot. I'm a senior demographer at the Texas Demographic Center. Given that our state is made up of approximately 40% Hispanics, I'm going to give my remarks in Spanish, if you don't mind. They're pretty similar to what Dr. Potter just shared, but he kind of went on the fly, so I'm going to change it a little bit. Buenos días, soy demógrafa para el Centro Demográfico del Estado de Texas. Somos asociados con la Oficina del Censo de los Estados Unidos y nosotros producimos estimaciones y pronósticos de la población del Estado de Texas. También diseminamos datos demográficos e información para diferentes depositantes y personas con interés. Por nuestro trabajo de parte del Estado, es importante asegurar un conteo completo y correcto. Nos da placer tener la oportunidad de trabajar con la campaña de Texas Counts y estamos enfocados en activar agencias estatales y gobiernos locales en el esfuerzo de asegurar un conteo completo, porque estas agencias y oficinas conocen la importancia de los datos demográficos del censo, porque a través de sus programas proveen servicios y recursos para las familias del estado de Texas. Nos da un gran placer estar aquí con Texas Counts Campaign, y nos da placer también trabajar con el censo de la oficina del censo y con las agencias estatales, y que vamos a mover adelante para asegurar un conteo completo. Gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Potter and Dr. Valencia. Up next, I am very pleased to introduce our Bastrop County Judge, Judge Poppy, who will highlight the importance of local leaders engaging in census efforts. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I found a use for this microphone. I'm very pleased to be invited here today to speak to you a little bit about how important a complete and accurate census is to local governments. In fact, it's essential for those of us in the outlying and growing rural counties in Texas and the smaller cities to give this a serious effort in getting an accurate count. The reasons are evident, and you'll hear some statistics today that say that for every undercounted individual, it costs the county and the local government thousands of dollars a year. And cumulatively, that can make the difference between being able to meet our social needs or not. And so for good governance, it means that we should all be involved in getting an accurate count. The Constitution of the United States demands it and calls for it. And so all of us believe in that strong document, and it's what makes us great today. And so the census is something that all of us can get behind and support. But not only for good governance, but also to provide for the critical services that local governments are responsible for, whether it be taking care of indigent patients, representing those in court who do not have the funds to represent themselves. There are many local obligations that depend upon an accurate count and the funding that will come back to us through that effort. By the way, this is a nonpartisan effort. It doesn't matter what party you're a part of, or if you're not a party of any party, So it can be, on the one hand, bipartisan, but I think more accurately, it is nonpartisan. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a part of any party to care about an accurate count of Texans. It's important because we're all Americans and we're all Texans, and we want what's rightfully ours, and we can't get it if we don't know how many of us there are and where we live. By the way, where we live is just as important as how many there are. Mm-hmm. There are areas in my county that were severely undercounted 10 years ago, and because of that, we're having trouble getting funding to support their social needs. And so it's very important that we know not only how many there are, but where they are. I'm a member of Texas Regional Councils of Government, which was mentioned earlier as a co-sponsor here. One of our monikers for 911 communication service is no gaps and no overlaps. I think that's a pretty good moniker for counting as well. We don't want to have any gaps in the count, and of course we don't need to have any overlaps. We all want to know how many there are and where they live so that we can better provide local governmental services. And I'll conclude by just saying that in Bastrop County, we're a relatively small rural county. I had a great conversation with Judge Jenkins just last week about how important it is in his county, one of the most populous in Texas, to get an accurate count. So no matter whether you're big or small, rural or urban, it's important for all of us. And if you add a simple Y to the word count, you got county. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judge Poppy. Next up, I would like to welcome Christine Curran, Assistant Regional Manager for the Census Bureau, who will share about the Census Bureau's work in our communities.
Good morning, everybody. I apologize. I have a little bit of a cold. I am germ-free at the moment. First of all, as she mentioned, my name is Chris Curran. I'm an Assistant Regional Census Manager out of the Dallas Regional Census Center. And thank you for letting me be here today to speak on this topic. I was asked to talk about some of the unique challenges of conducting the census in the state of Texas, as well as some of the partnership activities we've done. First of all, you can't miss that Texas is a huge state. So we have a lot of territory to cover when it comes to conducting a census. You have a large, diverse population that has grown steadily since the 2010 census. Rural areas where we struggled to hire enough staff in our very first operation, and it was a small operation, so when we get to some of the bigger ones, we're going to struggle even more. You have an unemployment rate that has been at its lowest for over a year in areas along the border where we're going to struggle to hire enough citizens to get the job done. And these are just a few of the unique challenges that you have. And did I mention it is a big, big state? And from a census perspective, you know, we're used to, you know, Montana as a big state. Well, this is a big state. Despite these challenges, we have the most robust and engaged partnership program and team than ever before. With 121 partnership specialists and 10 media specialists on staff, we have engaged to date over 4,100 partners throughout the state of Texas. And some of these you mentioned, some of the really great partners. I'm going to mention some of the really big partners that hopefully will help us get some attention to this. We have the Dallas Cowboys on board, Houston Texans, the Houston Rockets, HEB, Valero, and Coca-Cola. And we can't thank the communities enough. At this point, we have approximately $2.6 million contributed from local counties and communities to the census effort. As we look forward to the 2020 census, we hope to create a historic self-response because for the first time, residents will be able to answer 10 easy questions by the internet in English and by 58 other languages, over the phone in English and 12 other languages, and of course, they can respond using a questionnaire. It's a national operation, but one we say is conducted locally because Texas will be counted by Texans, and so it's really important that we do a good job in recruiting and hiring staff at the local level. To do this, we need trusted voices in the community to step forward. I can stand here and I can tell you how important it is, but it's not going to have the same impact as your local leaders and local community. So we ask you to identify those individuals who are willing to be visible and vocal and step up and talk about how important the census is and that it's safe and easy to do. And lastly, I've mentioned jobs. Please help us find individuals interested in working for the Census Bureau. We're not in competition with Walmart or anything like that. These jobs are unique, they're short term, they're a little extra money over the holidays or after the holidays. And as you mentioned, let's count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Up next, just in census work, we know that our faith leaders are really trusted messengers to get out the count. And so I'd like to welcome Reverend Miles Brandon from the Episcopal Health Foundation.
Well, good morning. I am Reverend Miles Brandon. I'm pastor of St. Julian of Norwich Episcopal Church in Round Rock, Texas. And on behalf of the Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Texas, the Right Reverend C. Andrew Doyle, and the Episcopal Health Foundation, which is an instrument of the Episcopal Diocese of Texas, it's working to improve health outcomes for 10 million Texans in 57 counties. I want to express our profound support for Texas Counts. Rooted in Holy Scripture and Christian tradition, we believe that every person who resides in our state and our country is a child of God and is created in the likeness and image of God. Thus, every human life is of equal and infinite value, and each person must be seen, heard, respected, given dignity, and in this context, counted. We have a particular commitment to be sure that traditionally undercounted communities are fully represented and included in the 2020 census, and that any barriers caused by confusion, fear, misinformation, or a lack of outreach and resources will not stand as a roadblock to any person's participation. Our bishop writes, one of our goals in the Episcopal Diocese of Texas is to meet our neighbors and support our communities. Helping with the 2020 census is one way we can do this. An undercount can affect representation in government bodies, shape the allocation of billions of dollars for schools and hospitals, shape future business and policy decisions, and have an impact on Social Security beneficiaries. By assisting with the census, we're getting to know our neighborhoods better so that we can serve those who live in them better. And we hope everyone will join us in the Texas Counts effort. Thank you for the opportunity to partner together in this important life-giving work, and we in the Episcopal Diocese of Texas look forward to working in our neighborhoods and communities to be sure all of God's children are indeed counted. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Up next, young children are a hard-to-count population, and Stephanie Rubin, the Chief Executive Officer of Texans Care for Children and member of our CBO subcommittee, will speak to the importance of counting our young kiddos.
It's really difficult to, follow an eloquent faith leader at a podium. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm Stephanie Rubin, the CEO of Texans Care for Children. We are a statewide nonprofit advocacy organization working for the well-being of Texas kids. I have a partner, colleague here, Katie Mitten, who has been leading our census effort, and she also is connected with national organizations and a network of children's advocacy groups across the country working on Census 2020. I want to talk about three things today: why an accurate count of Texas kids matters, why Texas has historically undercounted children, and what Texans working with children and families can do to help. So if we undercount kids, as Texas has done in the past, it will harm children and their communities for a decade, because children will lose out on billions of federal dollars for programs that serve them, that give kids a healthy start in life. Head Start, Medicaid, Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, SNAP, formerly food stamps, Title I education funding, child care subsidies, early childhood intervention for babies and toddlers with disabilities, and funding for school lunches. We are already struggling with significant rates of child poverty, lack of educational attainment, increasing uninsured rates of kids in our state. We cannot afford to lose federal dollars that help us tackle these challenges. In the 2010 census, the undercount of Texas kids led to Texas losing out on almost $119 million every year for a decade. We cannot afford to undercount kids. We need to count every Texas child this time. Young children have historically been undercounted in past censuses due to, in part, confusion around whether they should be included on the form. Young children with certain demographic characteristics, such as living in large metropolitan areas, in linguistically isolated households, in grandparents or non-relatives households, or in group quarters, for example, children in the foster care system, and other challenges have historically been undercounted. In addition, about 30% of Texas kids live in already hard-to-count communities. So we have this challenge on top of working in communities that need extra effort to count every family and every person. So what Texans working with kids and families can do to help? Together with CPPP, we have pulled together resources for individuals and organizations working directly with kids and families. So child care centers, public health institutions, libraries, and others, to help get the word out about the census, and in particular to communicate with families about counting every child in their household. Those resources are at www.txchildren.org. And in addition to the resources on the website, we are also re-granting philanthropic funds to child care and other child-serving organizations at the local level to help them organize local events and produce materials for families. So again, thank you for the invitation, and I'm really pleased to be with this whole group. Keep stealing your piece of paper.
A cheat sheet. Up next, as we all know, our business sector is really vital in helping us get out the count. So I'd like to welcome our business subcommittee co-chairs, Justin Yancey, the Executive Director of the Texas Business Leadership Council, and Ms. Kimberly Walton, Vice President of Communications at the North Texas Chamber. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. On behalf of Chris Wallace, the president of the North Texas Commission, we appreciate everybody's efforts in the chamber, in the census. We are taking a leadership role in the North Texas area, but we're also happy to co-chair with Justin Yancey on the complete count for Texas. To tell you a little bit about why this is important for businesses, Judge Poppy mentioned earlier that we need to know where people live. Texas is a fast growth state. The Dallas-Fort Worth area, the Austin area, they're fast growth regions. So if having that corner pharmacy that's near a growing community is important to you for when your kiddo is sick in the middle of the night, you need to make sure you're counted, because that's when businesses know where to expand, where to relocate. They also look at census numbers when they're looking at bringing in major corporate relocations. These are the Toyotas and those major relocations that happen once every few years. They look at the census data to see what the workforce pool will be like. And then finally, this is all very important for protecting that Texas miracle that we've been so blessed with over the last few years. We need to make sure that businesses know we've got people here that are ready to work, so we have to make sure we're all counted. And Justin will talk about how that can happen.
Thanks, Kim. I just wanted to, my name is Justin Yancey, president of the Texas Business Leadership Council, and I want to thank Chris Wallace and Kim for all your help. Appreciate it, for not help, the leadership that they're providing, really, not just in North Texas, but statewide. It's been said a few times here how important an accurate and complete count is to business, but I just want to be very clear. It is critical that Texas businesses be ready, be prepared. We are working to make sure that the businesses know this is coming next year, what they need to do, who needs to be counted, how to do that, and there are resources online at texascounts.org, and I encourage you to go to the website. There's a business section. Contact either of us, contact anyone, and we will make sure we can provide, answer any questions, provide the resources, because, to say it again, businesses need to know where to invest, where to build, where to expand, and that translates directly into jobs, and that's important. It also translates into the number of members of Congress we have for Texas in the coming years. So, and this applies to, lastly I'll just say this applies to insurance companies, engineering firms, landscaping companies, banks. There's no company that should not be involved. Make sure your employees know that the census is just, again, critically important, and participate. So I encourage you to be ready and be prepared, and let's make sure we have a full and complete count in 2020.
And last but certainly not least, I want to introduce Elizabeth Billy from NALEO. NALEO is working hard to ensure the census provides the most accurate portrayal possible of the Latino community and the entire population. Elizabeth Billy is the Texas State Director for the NALEO Educational Foundation and a member of our government subcommittee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Billy, and I am the Texas State Director for NALEO Educational Fund. And my role here is to make sure that every Texan, along with you all and my peers and presenters in the back, get this accurate census count. We know that what's at stake, as the Census Bureau mentioned, it's a big state. And we have a lot of hard to count to reach populations, and the Latino community being one of them. And so we want to know, we want our community to be prepared, to know that it's safe, that it's easy, and that we're here as a resource to, along with the Texas Counts campaign, for information, for materials, for anything that they need, especially other organizations that will be doing the outreach in these hard to count communities, that they know that they can count on us to make sure they have the right information. And so we know there's about 11 million Latinos in the entire state, and as one of my presenters mentioned, there's about 75,000 of those who are young children. So our goal is to make sure, through NALEO, we have two big campaigns, one called the Hágase Contar, which is we want to make sure everybody gets counted, and then the other one is Hazme Contar, count me in, meaning the kids asking their parents to ensure that they are counted. And so I want to make this remarks as well in Spanish, knowing that, that's kind of our primary audience. Buenos días, mi nombre es Elizabeth Billy y soy la directora estatal del Fondo Educativo de NALEO. Y la razón por que estoy aquí es mi Mi posición es realmente para estar aquí y asesorar que todos los miembros de la comunidad latina, pero a nivel estatal, todos los tejanos y los miembros de la comunidad se cuenten y que sepan que el censo es seguro y que pueden llenarlo con la asistencia que se necesite y con todas las organizaciones que están aquí, incluyendo la campaña de Texas Count, que va a ayudar que esa información se coloque en áreas que en el pasado se conocen como áreas difíciles de llegar. Y lo que queremos es que nuestra comunidad sepa que vamos a estar aquí para ellos. Nosotros tenemos dos campañas, una que se llama Hágase Contar y la otra se llama Hazme Contar, porque queremos que nuestros niños, como sabemos en este estado hay más de 11 millones de latinos que viven aquí y 75,000 de ellos son niños. Queremos que ellos que se cuenten, porque sabemos que el impacto que van a tener si no se cuentan. Y lo único que voy a decir es gracias, queremos que todos los cuenten. Tenemos una línea nacional bilingüe, queremos que nuestra comunidad, si tiene alguna pregunta o duda, que nos llamen al 1-877 el censo, y esa información también se va a colocar en la página de internet de Texas Counts.org. Gracias.